Fellow Ghanaians, a very good evening to all of you, and thank you very much for joining us here on Upfront on the Joy News channel. And tonight we have a very exciting conversation. Yes, we're looking at our public entities. You and I are concerned, we've always talked about why the Ghanaian public entities don't seem to make as much profit as the private sector. In fact, you've talked about how we should consider giving everything public to private persons to manage them and manage them effectively. However, there's an authority mandated by the laws of this country, Act 990, to ensure that public entities are managed effectively and in fact perform to ensure they are effectively run and also ensure profitability. I'm sure that is one thing that excites all of us, that our state entities can be run and run profitably. Tonight, I'm joined by the Director General of State Interest and Governance Authority, the Honorable Stephen Asamoah Boateng. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well by the grace of God.
It's been a long time.
I know.
The last time you were contesting for flag bearer of your party when we met.
Yeah, when you grow, you have to aspire to do something different from what you are used to. But no, that was some time ago, about almost 7 years ago.
Yes, 7 years ago in 2014.
That's gone. Now, God willing, I'll be looking at another one. But
You'll be looking at another one.
That's how to organize ourselves.
I am interested in what you'll be looking at. God willing, what
Well, I will
at?
announce it at the appropriate time. But right now, I'll just tell you, watch it out. It's an organization. It's a mass movement. It's how to motivate people and how to get the best out of people. But I won't tell you what it is for.
Well. So that would suggest that the information I picked is true. That that you want to be chairman of the NPP.
Well, God willing, and when the door opens and the party begins to open the nomination, and I have to also make sure this place is wrapped up properly and a smooth transition and make sure we deliver here. We have some way to go, but God willing, you would see me somewhere within the contest in which you just put the question.
So you'll be contesting for your parties in the 2022 national executive elections. You would contest.
Well, let me put it this way. The official opening has not been...
So if it is open, you will contest?
Well, it is something that I've thought about deeply. It is something that I believe I have served in all the capacities that can help me to mobilize and organize a mass organization like the party. And it's be an honor to serve again in another capacity. But as I said, it's all on the drawing board and I'm involved in the drawing as well. But as I sit here currently, I told you I started something new. I started something from the State Enterprises Commission. And we've gone through the legal framework and get the law 990. It's huge, and that's why you are here. So let's concentrate on that, and we'll come back to that later on.
I like it when the former information minister nicely veers off this way. But I'm going to do something. I would come back to that. In fact, it's the reason I'm here. But I just want certainty to my questioning, and then we'll move away. I just want certainty to my clarification to my questioning. So, yes, you've served your party. I remember the National Economic Dialogue at the time when you had returned. In 2001, you became a deputy minister, you became substantive minister, you became member of parliament until you wanted to be flag bearer. You say it's time to move on to another thing, an indication being a flag bearer is not part of your aspirations.
No. Categorically, no.
Being a secretary is not part of your aspirations.
Categorically, no.
Being a national organizer, no.
No.
So being a national chairman,
keep fingers crossed.
I get the answer.
God opens doors, you can never tell. I trust in God in a lot of things I do.
And you're on the drawing board?
I am involved in the drawing board.
In a mass organization of your party?
You know what? I started my political career at a young age, 18, 19, thereabout, in the anti-union government campaign. When I interacted with a lot of the current party leadership, including the president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and his uncle, William Muforiata, with Samuel Kujeto, Tommy Thompson, moved on to when Jerry John Rawlings, chairman, I called him, became the head of state, the revolution days. and we ended up being sent into exile.
Yes, I remember that.
But we didn't relent. We began to work on democracy, which is the preferred choice of the people to elect their leadership, and also to be accountable. And in the face of the gun, we did our best. We went out, we never gave it up, and now democracy is here, and I was part of the whole organization to get it this far. And I'm grateful to the president also giving me the opportunity to serve in a different capacity, not in the political side. I used, as you said, minister, member of parliament, and so I've seen it all there. Now my other hat has come on. I put the political hat on the ground for a while. Now the other hat is business. It's corporate Ghana. It's how to turn around these state entities. It's how to make them profitable. It's how to get their liquidity up and running so they can make money and pay dividend, so we can do the roads, the hospitals. And I've been here for about 4 to 5 years, turning it around from the State Enterprises Commission, then, which was like a one-man band Asabi organization. Nobody knew what it was. Somehow we've carved out a niche. And now the law, which Act 990, and it's interesting, 990. See, a lot of acts have different numbers. This is 990. I'll explain to you why it's 990.
Why is it 990?
Oh, well, it comes up to you. You are into numerical stuff, are you?
No.
Later on, we'll talk about that later on. I sort of also believe in numbers and what they mean. My unique, unique and lucky number is 7. 3, 18, 12, but 7 is the key. It opens a lot of doors.
7 for perfect.
Well, I'll tell you why. You know, my name is 777. Stephen is 7. Asamoah is 7. Boateng is Stephen 7.
Okay.
You see,
so you like?
It's not by coincidence.
Great.
But now let me get back to the point. The point is that we have a responsibility now with the Act 990. The President has seen us through the transformation from SEC and DIC. You remember the diversity charge implementation, merging it together. We have the act with us now, and it's huge. It talks about the shareholding of government assets or state shares, and to dispose of it and hold and manage and all that. But the key phrase is to administer them efficiently and where applicable profitably. So it's not all state entities are on commercial lines.
So we'll get to that. We'll get to how you make them profitable. But before we get to how you make them profitable, let's look at the challenges they face. How challenging is it, in making state institutions or public agencies profitable?
The challenge has always been with our own attitude and character as a nation. We seem to have taken public service as not serious, and it's like, just go in there, get as much as you can get out. And nobody seems to be punishing people.
Why do we seem to think like that? Why do we think that we should go in there and just make money and get out?
I don't know. It's been in the past. I mean, have you read the Animal Farm?
I have.
The animals drove away Mr. Jones, and before they realized, some animals were sleeping on Mr. Jones's bed and punishing the other animals.
Sure.
Somehow we got rid of the colonial masters, and we assumed the leadership, assumed the same role as the colonial master. And so those at the bottom saw that, hey, hang on a second, you are doing exactly the same thing, so nothing has changed. I was brought up in a village. I was born in Konongo. I come from Kromanse. My mom was in Konongo. You know, Fantis always converge where the gold is.
Exactly.
Obuase, Konongo, Takwa, Dunkwa. So I was born in Konongo with a Fanti mother and a Ashanti father. And growing up, nobody thought about government. Government for what? I was brought up to understand I have to be a baker's son. To wake up in the morning, make sure the bread is out. In fact, before you wake up, I am up by 3 a.m. to make sure the oven is hot for the bread to go in. So by 5:36, when you are there, the bread is ready for you to eat. But what goes in, you don't know.
Exactly.
So we hardly sleep. And we never thought about government. Government to come and do what for us? Our job is to make sure my mom gets the flour, get the sugar, the butter, whatever. Of course, there were some times when flour gets into, like they say they used to hoard it. Or into scarcity.
When they're shorting.
My job was to go and look for them. The only time we heard of government was when Kwame Nkrumah was passing by Kono, and we see convoy. Okay, I see Nkrumah, and on Kono, sometimes even it's a decoy. Nkrumah is not in that car. But that's the only time we came close to a government. Or maybe the town council will come and inspect our houses. But now it's about everything, government. I guess it's a cycle that we ourselves have to break.
Okay.
It's because we have made central government so powerful. It never used to be, and it shouldn't have been. The local authorities must be asked to work. If the local authority in Asante Chamber is working for me, why am I coming to Accra for? If the local authority in Infantiman is working, what am I going to Accra for? But we've managed to pull power to the center from Nkrumah's time. And the government, subsequent governments, or presidents and the government, have never tried to. The Local Government Act is there, 462, Act 462, and its other amendments, but nobody's really applying it properly.
Okay.
So power is with few people in the center, and so people look at them, they are making it, so why not me? So I want government. But if you decentralize it, and they get what they're looking from the assembly, the basic thing is sanitation, revenue mobilization, make sure people are employed or empowered. And once you do that, then they are comfortable. When we were doing our bread in Kono, nobody thought of coming to Accra. Why should I cross River Densu to come to Accra? So we need to retune our mind. That's what I'm trying to do here, is to get the public entities to think that, look, we have a legacy to pass on of entities that work, and that people will be proud to be part of it. And those that are making or set up commercially to make money, at least break even and don't come back with debt. And so the Ghana Gas, the electricity company, the Ghana Water, the airport company, I'm just mentioning a few, Gihog Distillery, Ghana Publishing. I came here and set a target. Now look, we will start the negotiation to sign contracts. It had been abandoned because everybody thought nothing was happening, so they come and sign and go away. And they also thought there was no point coming to sign because you wouldn't even monitor them and not evaluate them. So what's the consequence if I don't perform? And there was none. There was no punishment. There was no sanction. So people forgot. Now I started doing it. I came here, I'll tell you a funny story. Before, my predecessors had set up an awards night to award state enterprises award night in the evening with the CEO, best CEO. I said to me, what for? And they said, oh, it's an award night. They had gone that far. They wanted me to sign for some billboards to go up. I said, no, you are awarding them for what?
And what were you told?
Oh, it is to showcase our job. I said, job of what? First of all, the audited accounts that you need to work with, it was not even available. I came in here, most of the entities had not had their accounts audited from 2012. So you don't know the audit account. What are you going to award them for? And then the next time you award them, given the best CEO, the best entity, and then there's a huge fraudulent activity, and then I have invited the president to come and award him for something that I should have checked. So I cancelled it.
Okay.
They were not happy here.
I see. So you've talked about making them profitable, running them efficiently.
Yeah.
How are you ensuring that they are being run efficiently and by extension becoming profitable?
Yeah. First of all is the people you put in charge, and I'm grateful for the CEOs and MDs and Director Generals that I came to meet them. I must admit, the quality is there, the caliber are good. They want to make name for themselves. What I did was to put them together, what we used to call, or we still call, Chamber of CEOs. And the idea was to learn from each other quickly and also to solve our own problems without making a spill out. But the job is that you need to teach your colleague how to make efficient running of an organization. And I was lucky to have people like Dr. K.K. Sapon, Dr. Ben Asante, Honorable Isaac Osei, you remember?
Yeah.
Jeff Entry-Dakwa at VRA, Fred Oware at Bui. So there was a cream of people who have seen it all before. And that's how we start. So I was lucky to come and meet these people. And they gave me the backing. And then the president, I must admit, was instrumental in everything I did. So that's number one, get the kind of people there. Number two, get them to understand that public service is purely public service. And then it's not to make your own profit for yourself, but for the profit for the nation. And also to make sure that you run it efficiently for one day your name will be in gold, written in gold, that you were here before. So we lifted the philosophy to service. You understand? We from the Ashanti sometimes call Osum. Osum. So that's how we also the second point. The third point is that what is making your company not run efficiently? And you see that there are people in there who have been there for a long time. They're used to the same things. So you got to quickly do a HR audit and get people to move around, which they did. Then third one is, are you in your core business or you are diverting into other areas? Which some of them were. So we had to quickly bring them.
Which ones are diverted into other areas?
Let me put it this way. There were times when I had running battles with some of the organizations. I wouldn't name them because they would know I have fought them before. They had then gone into other things like investing in their resources in other businesses, let me say. When their core mandate is look at oil and gas, they were looking at agric. I said, fine, but that's not your business. Or there's an agric, they're looking at not the production level, but they're looking at the warehousing, which is fine, the part of the continuum, but concentrate on the basics, get it down, then you can look at that one. It's all boiled down to strategy.
Exactly. So what I want us to do, I just want to get a clarification because you're talking about, the fact that you wouldn't want to be mentioning names. You've talked about oil and gas and all of that. But the point is, these are public entities supposed to be serving the interest of the country, Ghana. So isn't it important for us to know those that were not doing the right things and they've now changed? Also because
I'm coming to that because I'm building the foundation. Then we'll come to the classification into A, B, C. Those we want to even sell off because sometimes they're not running properly. I'll come to that. But I'm just saying that this is the reason why I began to think that we should change the character and the mindset. And you mentioned why don't we we're not working like the private sector. Yes, we know why the private sector, because there's a profit motivation. There's also a sanction element. And if you don't come to work, you're sacked or you do. Here, nobody sacks anybody. And the collective bargaining agreements come in. So you got to find a way to negotiate your way and say, oh, look, from now on, you come and sign contract, but we negotiate with you. So what we did was to do the pre-negotiation period, and then we set 4 key criteria. Just satisfy these ones. Not many. Your finances or the economic side of your business must be right. So we're looking at your liquidity, you're looking at your current ratio, we're looking at how you make profit and how do you pay back some dividend. That's number one. Then you look at the management improvement. What does the management do? What reports you're supposed to send? Your audited accounts must be done at certain times. Your budgets must be done. You must sync in with the national budget. That was done. Then we have dynamic effects of what you do, creativity, innovation. What do you bring on? Then productivity or efficiency. And that goes down to the kind of corporate governance system you are operating. So the board must have that strategic mindset, financially and direction, everything, to make sure they set the rules. Okay. Then the management. So that's why I started doing it. Now it's beginning to show evidence. Now most of the businesses which used to come with debt are not coming anymore. I'll give you a typical example of them, ECG. They are not coming to for bailouts. They rather want us to refine their debt portfolio, which we're doing, which has been accumulated over years. But we also know why. The why was that people were not paying their bills. Like you and I, who do the illegal connections, but then it's the job of that entity and the officer to go and check. Yeah. So what we've decided to do, we've run it recently for a while, but really look at the structure. Is it okay to have a big structure in Accra, maybe regions who don't go down? So maybe the retail end of ECG, let's break it down. Let's go down to the people so they can check the wastage in the system. So those are the kind of things.
So you want to deal with the previous debts?
Yes.
Not but for now they're breaking even. You want to deal with the debts that have been incurred previously. Good. Now, you talked about signing performance contracts with them. How many entities signed a performance contract last year?
Last year we had 6. We started with, let me start from when I came, we started 25. Okay. It had been abandoned for nearly 7 years. And I came here in April. By June, July, we quickly got them to understand the scope of performance contract, negotiated and signed 25. The following year, 2018, we signed 45 of them. And then 2019, we signed 53. Now we are on 71. We targeted 91. Unfortunately, the others were reluctant because they had not got their systems right. Because before you sign, you must go through the negotiation and make sure, one, your strategic plan is in place. Two, your budget is being audited. Three, you have your future plans all put together, and you come and then we negotiate so that we can look at where you're coming from, what you've done before, whether you can achieve what you set out to do. Then once we agree, then we are signing. Now, God willing, Monday 26, the president is coming around, and we're going to sign 71 of them. And that's an improvement.
Your law talks about signing performance contracts with state entities. Why are you not signing it with all of them and just a few, and just half of them?
You cannot just go and say, come and sign when you have not negotiated with them. A contract is a contract.
But there should be sanctions for not for those not availing themselves to sign these performance
Well, they were not used to. There are those who had never done it before.
It's
so
been 4 years. They should be used to it now.
Most of the commercial ones are doing it. That's my job. It's my mandate. The ones that are reluctant and we now to convince them to do are the other state entities who are not specified in a way. Although the law says other state entities, the law gives us the opportunity to go back to Parliament and identify them. So we're using our normal lobbying and explanation that, look, it's good to be there. I'll give you an example like the teaching hospitals. Mm-hmm. They're not commercially set up. They're hospitals. And so it's a service provision we're looking at. So when we go and sell commercial or profitable, where's the profit here? Rather, we need money from the state. Then we're trying to win them off from the state, so that takes a while. One of them that has come very happily along was like DVLA. They, initially when I came here, they are a subvented organization. They used to be, and we took them off because they can make their own money. And indeed, they've improved efficiently. And so now they are signing, like the Food and Drugs Authority. So there are areas that were gray, and it's not our fault. It's because they were not commercially set up. Those are the ones that are not coming along. How
many entities are clearly defined as being supervised by the State Interest and Governance Authority?
Well, we have the state-owned enterprises, which is about 44. Mm-hmm. We have the others, JV's joint venture, which is about 40. And we have the other state entities, which makes up to be 175.
175.
Yes.
So this is clearly defined.
But we don't do, we focus on the commercial ones.
And the commercial ones add up to?
The joint venture one, we haven't done the framework because it depends on the percentage of shares we hold. You cannot certainly, Ghana government cannot go and say we're signing the contract with Asamoah Boateng, for instance. They are joint venture, and we have 0.05%.
You can't
shares.
do that.
They won't even allow you.
Yes.
But I have a case with that one, for instance.
Because you don't have the controlling.
Exactly. So we can't go there.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm picking up certain signals of even the ones who have minority interests. Asamoah Boateng, for instance, when we had a lot of shareholding until we started selling some off, they were not making huge profits. They were not declaring profit. Suddenly, when the Ghana government golden share began to dwindle, they are now shooting up in profit. My question is, what happened in the past?
What do you suspect happened in the past?
Somehow they suppressed the figures. We'll find out. Because in the end, we need to scrutinize. And I'm interested to scrutinize. Last time I was at AGM, and I was asking them questions. They admitted me to the AGM, not as a shareholder. I said to them, see, as a shareholder. We had a battle. So there are little battlefields I'm fighting, especially with the JVC. But we have some support. We're doing a new framework to have some relationship and how we can measure the value of our shares in those joint venture companies.
We'll get to the other ones, but the suspicion of suppression, where does it come from?
It's because I've been around for long. Don't think I've been around. I was born in a mining center too. Mm-hmm. Those foreign-controlled companies who are here, they have their own modus operandi, and I'm not happy with that. I can send a signal to them today that I'm not happy with the mining entities in Ghana. I'm not happy with the way they treat the communities they're operating in. I'm not happy if you go to Obuasi, you go to Konongo, you go to Dunkwa, you go to Takwa. I am not happy. If you go to South Africa, Johannesburg mining center built with the mining money or the gold money, and it's a super city. Why in Ghana they decided to do otherwise? It's because our leaders have also not helped us. They've sort of let me put it this way. Sometimes we meet the white man, we're scared to negotiate. Or we think they know better than we do. Yes, they've improved in technology. Yes, they have things that they advance than we are. But you don't reinvent the wheel. We can learn and quickly learn. The Koreans, look at the Koreans. Look at China. They're overtaking the Americans. So why are we still in the same situation? When they come with their mining equipment, we allow them everything they want, and then they get out and take it out. It's quite recently we've had a refinery in Ghana, and they are private. But that's good. Something is happening. We can refine the gold. Why were we taking the raw gold out? There's things that we need to address, and I get the opportunity here to try and get these topics up and get the authorities to think with me. Let's go.
Great. And talking about let's go, so let's look at it from this point. Now, you started with 25, you got about 40, 45.
51,
now 51,
61.
60, now you're getting to 71. So there are others that are not on there. They're supposed to be on there. The question first is, what happens to those that refuse to get on? Any sanctions for them?
Well, until the law came in, there was no sanctions. Now the law gives me the responsibility to sanction them. And most of their reasons are the fact that they don't have audited accounts. And they also...
But they should have audited accounts.
Their reason also is that it's not their fault. The auditors came in late. And then now the issue has been covered, has delayed everything. And true to some extent, but now I go beyond the audited accounts. Okay, give me management accounts. Let me look at what you yourself you've prepared. And so now some of them are buying into it. So it takes a while. Don't worry.
But you're treating them with kid gloves. Well, within the private sector, you cannot give the excuse of COVID.
But you don't forget, this is a state entity that has got used to...
Yes, but you want them to run effectively, efficiently.
Of course. But you see, you start from somewhere. You cannot just make sure all these 1 or 44, even the core one, everybody makes it. I mean, how? I mean, I went to Ghana Publishing when I came here. I nearly cried. If I had the opportunity, that I would have closed it. But the president gave me a CEO, Mr. Asante.
Yes.
Boateng.
David Asante.
David.
Yes.
Young man, enterprise, he wants to do something. I called him here. We discussed his plans. I said, I'll give you time. Let me see something change. Before I could realize, he was printing my brochures for me. I never used to go to them. I used to go to Graphic. But now, Ghana Publishing, super. So, as I said, yes, you want to run, but at the same time, you have to be careful that things are done systematically.
It's in 4 years.
But
4 years should be enough.
But the 4 years, don't know, SIGA came in a year and a half. So
exactly.
Don't start going for it.
No,
4 years is...
SIGA came in 2019. Yeah. That's agreed.
So that's a baby.
Yes, that's agreed. That's agreed. But the performance contract signing has been since...
But it had been abandoned for 7 years before that.
I mean, irrespective of it being abandoned,
so
you brought it back.
Yes.
And so once you bring it back, we should
the law didn't back me.
To it.
The law didn't back me then.
You have the backing now.
Now, that's what I'm saying. Now I have the backing now. That's why we are now applying.
But you're buying into their excuses.
No. Why have I said that? I said no. I said
COVID, which is true.
It is true. So how do you do it? If the COVID
within the private sector, they provided the accounts.
How do you go and audit if the auditor is not there? How do I audit? But the auditor is not there. You got to be realistic. You can't say with or without auditor I'm punishing you. Punishing for what? You are not realistic.
So talking about
now I'm applying. In fact, from next week, in fact, we've sent a letter. There are entities that we've identified, and their audited accounts, even 2018, are not with me. There are 6 of them. We're going to charge them penalty points, and they will pay. If they don't pay, it will be another sanction for the CEO.
Great. Talking about CEOs, and you've just talked about David Asante, who's doing well at the Ghana Publishing. Your act says you should liaise with the government in appointing CEOs. Is that what you do?
Yeah, the act says so, but you also must be aware of the constitutional responsibility of the president to appoint.
Yes.
And in so doing, you need to find a framework that doesn't conflict with the constitution. So what we've done is that we've asked for a technical committee of ourselves, Public Services Commission, the Control and Accountant General's Department, the Auditor General's, the Attorney General's Department, Ministry of Finance, and we are now crafting a framework that will sit well with the constitutional provision, and for the president to understand that yes, it's your right, but look at the selection process that we are proposing. And the president so far is amenable, and we've had a discussion, and that's why we're going ahead in the first place. It's his power. He can say stop it. But he's not done that. He's encouraging us to put together the framework so you can have a look. Because you need a proper selection process where you want to appoint a CEO. Who is this person? What's his qualification? What's his experience? You need that. Right now, we take the CVs and all that. But sometimes, you and I know, in political circles, your party's in government. I want to see you. It's your network, your connection.
Yeah.
Are you with me? Even the board of directors, some people even think it's a bonus. I've had the occasion when people have called me and said, board of directors, maybe.
Yes.
The way they put it is like the law of the lowest or the lowest of the low. So, the board maybe. And then I said to them, do you understand the implication of being a board member? Can you understand the fiduciary responsibilities? Do you know that the Public Financial Management Act stipulates and the regulation that if there is any misapplication of anything, law, money or whatever, and you are individually responsible and severally responsible. You may be out of work and sitting in your old age in some village, and you'll be put to the court. Sure. Can you answer that question? They say, them not some answer. Then they begin. So my job is also to educate. And so those are the kind of framework we're putting together. Hopefully it will resolve. But you take a while. You got to, when there's power, in our constitution, power resides with the president. The way we crafted it. Constitutional amendments were supposed to happen, but it hasn't really happened yet. I believe we should move faster on that front. Our constitution is a bit, I've lived in England. I've also experienced other constitutional authorities. Ours is too heavy-handed at the top.
Okay. Too
heavy-handed.
You want some bit of decentralization of power.
Exactly.
Well, the president is, he's created, quote unquote, a new ministry because it's now local government and rural decentralization.
We've been talking. The president listens a lot. Don't forget I was the Minister of Local Government, Rural Development and Environment when he was the Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Yes.
So I've known him for a while. And he understands decentralization. He believes and the creation of the regions. I remember when I was local government minister, there was a lot of demands from the region, especially the OT and then the Bron and the North. And we had all these petitions put together, but it had to take a political will, especially the OT and the Volta. Oh my God. As soon as you start moving, I have friends of mine who are from the South, they'll come and say, hi, what are you doing? So he took a political will and he's done it. And so he believes in decentralization and it's going to work for everybody.
So the performance contract signings that you did in the past, you negotiated the terms and they signed on to these terms. Did they meet the terms?
Well, we have now negotiated this year's one, and that's what we're going to sign on Monday 26th.
But the last year's ones that you
yes, they have. And some of them are being sanctioned. Those who didn't meet them.
Six of them, six of them have been sanctioned? How many have been sanctioned?
The ones that have been sanctioned, about 6 for the non-submission of the audited accounts. And they're giving me excuses, and I'm not buying into that.
Okay, so which ones have been sanctioned?
Who are also not performing the way they themselves awarded their own percentage. Because we mark it over 100. So your financial, if you are strong in financial, you say, okay, I want to put 40% or 35% in financial. You must come up clean on that. So you can have maybe Ghana guys which you say, I'm good in financial or GMPC. So that's, but you have the National Theatre, which you and I, since you're covered in particular, nobody has stepped with there, which we need. We need a Keystone Concert Party, don't you think so? And we need the culture of the country to be imparted into our young people. And without the right culture, forget about these changes we're talking about. If the attitude is not right, forget. The orientation is not right. So national culture, national theatre will come and say, I don't have the financial, so financials I'll put 20%. The others will go into management improvement. Others will go to dynamic effects. So I will measure them on that.
Okay.
And so far, I'm happy with what they've done. And that's why the sanctions are not with the lot of them, but the 6 who have not done their financial management.
Who are these 6?
Let me keep it to myself for now.
I'll
give it to you now, but not now. But the letters have just gone out. I prefer them to read the letters so that, or they read it, or they hear it from the news.
My guest is Stephen Asamoah Boateng, who is the Director General of the State Interest and Governance Authority. We're looking at how we can run, public entities and make sure that they become very, very profitable. Of course, we started the conversation with his next line of action when it comes to his own party, the NPP. We're not done with that. When we return after these messages, we'll conclude our conversation on, the performance contract signing and also get his views on some national issues. This is Upfront on the Joy News channel, and I'm Winston Asamoah. We'll be right back. Right, so welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us here on Upfront on the Joy News channel, where tonight we're joined by the Honorable Stephen Asamoah Boateng, who is the Director General of the State Interest and Governance Authority. We're talking about how to make sure that, public entities become profitable. They're going to be signing performance contracts. What does that mean? Yes, you sign, and what next? Signing is not the issue. What matters is following up and ensuring that everything that was agreed on is adhered to. Honorable Asamoah Boateng, let's get to the signing. Yes, so you'll be signing, we agree, but what really matters is post-signing. Yeah. How do you ensure they adhere to these indicators, and what happens to them if they don't adhere to them?
Thank you. Our bread and butter division here is the Performance Monitoring and Evaluation Division. And they would, after the signing, identify the entities in the categorization we put them in, and they will begin to monitor their performance. In the past, it had been, they give us quarterly reports on all the indicators, the key performance indicators we look at. We are now moving away to an online monitoring system.
Okay. And
we've now got the software applications available. We ourselves are doing online here with a smart office environment. We have a portal that links them up to the entity, so they can send their documents there. We can review and then we can also set limits on some of their activities where we think it is an excess of what they are supposed to do, like expenditure, which, if you are not careful, some overspend on their budget. But we would normally, in the monitoring side, work with the board, because really the board has to have control over what's going on. And so the team will go out there, manage what's going on, get the documents, and we'll review them. And those who are doing well, then the evaluation comes in. So we do evaluation after the monitoring. Okay, we evaluated it. They do well on which fronts? Why are they not doing it well here? So we help out if there's a training need, if there's some monetary problem, they have a deficiency in some aspect, then we help out. And we draw in the Ministry of Finance, because that's the bottom line. It's money matter to help out if we need to ring fence their debt, for instance. If it's not a debt that they incurred, it's not an old debt. And those are the kind of things. But the monitoring will carry on. It's not just paperwork. We also move to the field. So, for instance, we've got Gridco that would be laying cables or overhead lines to, we have a relationship with Burkina Faso, laying the cable. And we have to also go and monitor that, yes, they're actually doing the job they're supposed to do. The same thing, ECG, if they're doing a substation somewhere, we physically go check and move. So there are on-site activity and also documentation we need to look at online. And if they are performing well and the evaluation comes, it affects their bonuses. They have a bonus policy scheme around, and we restrict them. I know when you do restriction, they all come heavy on me, but that's not my job. It is the job of what you are doing. Your job tells you whether we should allow you to have the bonus or not. Okay. And then it also, if they do well, fine. If not, then we restrict it. And then also what we haven't done, and in this particular signing I will be highlighting onto the CEO, is their own pay or remuneration and its relationship to productivity. Okay,
so what about that?
Well, it's been a topic that is coming and now and then, and nobody seems to have grabbed the thing by the neck. It's because when you want to attract the best personnel to manage your entities, but at the same time, yes, you do have a comparative analysis of what other companies are paying their CEOs, but you have to look at what do they bring in. And invariably, you see that in the past in Ghana, their earnings outstrip the productivity of the business. So you see a business that is going down or that is performing worse, and yet the CEO or the top management are on this level.
So how's that going to change?
Well,
what are you looking at achieving?
We're looking at negotiating to cap their salaries down. This is something that they know, but officially I'm now saying it because myself and Ministry of Finance have discussed it extensively. We need to find an upper limit where it is related to your productivity. And if you don't perform, I'm afraid your salary will be cut. So all those who are wanting to be CEOs next and think that there's a salary secured, it's not true. What it means is that you have to perform to earn it.
Okay, so hold on a minute.
So we're going to do that and sit down and write it in black and white. That has to happen.
Can they? So is it a case of, oh, they can get it, but that depends on how well they perform?
Exactly.
Or this is the cap. So we are even reducing it from the current levels to lower levels.
We certainly will reduce it because some of them are outrageously high, especially when you compare to what they are bringing in. But you also must be aware that you have to motivate people to do more. And so if it gets you a cap, you then have to open a window of what we call performance contract, performance-related salaries or allowances. And that would relate to what you bring beyond this level, and then I'll pay you this.
Let me ask you this. So what do you think should be, for instance, if you had to go for a high cap, I mean, if you had to cap the salaries of CEOs of state or owned enterprises, what would be the cap? Maximum?
Well, you can't generalize it. I mean, you can't say this is 70, you are stopping there.
The president's salary, the president's salary is less than 50,000.
But it depends on the industry you are operating. The oil and gas sector, you bring them to 50, you don't want the best in there, I'm telling you today. So you cannot, and then you cannot apply that to, as I said, the national theatre. I'm using that example because that's what we also think there's nothing happening there, but which I believe that can also be brought up because we need our culture, our mindset, our orientation right. So you need to start, that's what I'm saying, it's a discussion that has gone on.
So the salaries will be tied to their performance?
It will be tied to performance, that one I can tell you that. But so it will be industry specific, so that we look at, okay, the oil and gas, beyond this level, don't go. You want to go there, then let's make a provision for performance-related pay.
So in effect, you would have a cap that says, don't go beyond this level.
Then the board will have to implement it.
And so
but then there will be, as I said, a window of performance-related pay, and if they can perform well, then you are justifying it.
So for instance, when Hackman Owusu-Agyeman became chairman of Cookboard, he said the Cookboard CEO was on a salary of 75,000.
He cut it down.
Yes, and they cut it down to 50,000.
I think it came down. I can't remember exactly. I think it came down to about 60.
About 60,000.
And he also refused them their bonus, you remember?
Yes.
It became a major issue in the radio.
Yeah, so you're looking at making sure that for the other entities, which you think it's too high, there's a possibility of bringing it down, even before you ensure that their performance-related salaries are paid to them.
That's what I'm saying. The discussion has started, so it's a momentum that has to carry on. And when you are talking about personal emoluments, you got to engage. It's good to take the hint from this discussion, but they know that we've been talking about this. And so you have to find time in a stakeholder sort of engagement and say, this is in sector by sector, this is what we are trying to do. What do you think? Would that help in the sector? If it's going to drive away the best, then maybe we should do the performance. You see, when I was in England, most of my earnings were on performance-related pay. I made more money after my basic salary. Most of the money I made, and even beyond the performance-related pay, in England, they had a system where if you put that into your pension fund, it doesn't attract taxes. But if you take it immediately, then they tax you. And I was on higher earning taxes. So it made sense for me to put it on pension, meaning the money still goes back to the state and they use it. So there are always the incentive around this remuneration that we can apply.
Okay, so let's look at a few other things. Your act was passed in 2019?
Yes, please. June.
Do you have an LI?
No.
How is that impacting your performance?
Not much, but we need the LI because without LI, the working of the act is a bit slow. You need to tighten up some loose ends of it. We started putting the LI together about a year and a half ago. If immediately the act came in, I gave a deadline of let's try and get this LI in by 18 months. And we are around that time now. The difficulty was the Attorney General's department was overwhelmed. And so it took them a while, they had to explain. Now, but we're almost at the tail end, and we've almost done it.
Okay.
We're now getting the consultation done so that everybody understands what are the implications of the law on the airline, because the sanctions are going to come in the airline, a lot of them.
Okay, so in your last conversation with the Attorney General, what did he tell you? When did he tell you, all things being equal, he was going to have a
all
get to
things
Parliament?
being equal, we should be hitting Parliament in the next sitting. They are still sitting now. I think they're going to rise sometime
this month, I'm sure.
This month, I think. I haven't looked at the timetable. So they come back, I think, around September. and
Yes.
the airline should be in front of them.
Great. How's your relationship, I mean, the relationship of SIGA and the Public Enterprises Minister?
Fantastic. He's my young brother. I knew him when he took over the Efia constituency from my own friend Joe Beduansa.
Okay.
Joe had the Efia Kwesibi team.
Yes.
It was big, so they split it. And the first time I met him, he was such an enterprising young man at the Takoradi Polytechnic. And I called him aside and I said, I like your spirit. He said, go get it. When I was a young man, that's what I used to do. Very impatient to get job done. When you grow, you become more patient. And I liked him. And since he came, he's brought in an enormous amount of valuable ideas. He's been around. He's worked for Cocoa Board before. And he's done training on corporate governance before. And that idea about public enterprise is interesting. I remember in 2018, I think so, 2018, 2019, myself and the president went on a state visit to South Africa. And that was one of the things we were looking at, because they had a minister for public enterprises and the then minister for finance, or the previous minister for finance, Godan, had been moved to head that ministry. And it showed how important that was to President Ramaphosa. And so I had an engagement with him. So it's been on drawing board, and the president thought, wow, let's get this done, because they had similar problems with the South African Airways, which has gone down. They had problems with their electricity company. But we took our time because we were ahead of them with our act. And so the president pushed me to get the act out, which we done. So he thought, this is the time for me to collaborate with a minister to work it out. And I'm happy with him. He's doing well. It's a new ministry as well. That's the thing. We are all new. We are baby authority. It's a new ministry. But that's the beauty of the job I like to do. I like to take something from the basic and make something out of it. That's what I've done. The politics is important, but it needs public officers who are focused on service. But the business and the corporate world is equally important. This is where the money comes from.
Great. So we'll look forward to the signing of the performance contracts on Monday. It's very important. But beyond that, let's look at a few issues. Let's talk about a few national issues.
Yeah.
And not so long ago, we heard of allowances paid to First Lady and Second Ladies generated a lot
with
of
that
complaints.
topic?
Yes.
I don't know why it became topical.
Okay.
The 3 days or 2 days before, the president has gone to open the interchange at Pokwasi.
Yes.
And Ghanaians, we were talking about what?
Ghanaians were unhappy.
About what?
About salaries paid to First Lady and Second Lady because they are not employees of the states.
Sometimes I sit in my house and I shake my head.
Why?
Development is taking place, and the topic 2 days after was about allowances for First and Second Ladies. And it was also reduced to the current First and Second Ladies, rather than First and Second Ladies as a position, which has been in the past. And it was becoming political. And that is the problem again. Everything is reduced to politics. If you want my take on that one, I say it was very unnecessary discussion. It was something that we have to use tact and carefulness in handling. The ones I've come close in contact with, like Mrs. Kufo, the Nakredu I've known, and then of course Auntie Becky and Samira too. Auntie Matilda too, I knew, Misata. You'd be surprised to know that my family is married to the Misatas.
Oh, okay.
So, and they sacrifice a lot. People think that you are married to a husband, your president, so why should we pay you? They undertake a lot of responsibilities, and maybe as a nation, when the allowance thing started in President Kufuor's time, we should have somehow addressed it. And this is the period, the current president thing, it's like money under the table. Auditor will be finding difficulty to account for it. So he said, oh, look, let's open it up, let's talk about it. And indeed, they went to Parliament. And parliamentarians from both sides, nobody really argued against it. And then it comes out, and people, hey! So the question I was asking myself, is there something Kululu on? No. It's in the public, yes. It's in Parliament, yes. Yeah, maybe it's too much. But then talk about it in a way that doesn't hurt the feeling of people. It does. If I was the First Lady today, I'll be very hurt. Very hurt. If I'm the Second Lady, I'll be very hurt. I don't know, some of you should try and attach yourself to them for a day and see what they do. I saw Auntie Teresa Kufuor. a day she was almost like the president, second president. The kind of problems we pour to her, you'll be shocked.
Okay.
So they do handle things behind the scenes.
Should they be paid?
We should find a way to, well, not pay, because unless we define the job, which we have, First Lady. What is the job? Let's put it together.
There's no clearly defined job now.
Because it's not clearly defined job.
Yes.
So if you give them money and it's equivalent to a minister, then that's where the discussion came. Why are we doing that?
So yes, so that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
Since there's
it's officially declared a job.
Should we define a role for them?
I should think so. I think so. Because it is very lonely to become a president. I'm telling you today. It is sometimes lonely. You can't even know who to trust. You don't even know who to open up to.
What role should we define for the First Lady, for instance?
There are areas that presidents don't get into, like child mortality stuff, like women rights and empowerment issue, which we try, but it's always like shifted to the ground. Women, sometimes we forget that women are our backbone. I like the strong women, you know. My mama Amaduma will whack you in the face, you see. I step for Margaret Thatcher, she would use a handbag and hit her. You know, shut up.
Okay.
And you obey because that's your mother. If you got a strong woman who knows what they're doing, things move. So we tend to forget about them.
So what should that defined role apart from child?
There are plenty. I can't tell you all of them,
so
but there
should
should be a role and discuss in a manner that doesn't hurt feelings. It's as if it's like they're stealing something. You know, the president's thought about it. It was well documented by Rawlins's chief of staff, Atudazi. It's documented everywhere, but it was under the table. So this president brings it out in the open to Parliament. Now he's rather being accused. And then you see some of our own party, MPP for Mupe, this matter was handled quietly, and you bring it in the open. So we all want things to be hidden. Is that what we are here in Ghana?
Interesting. Finally, 2022. You're not running. You wouldn't run to be national organizer of your party. You don't want general secretary.
You're very interested in what I do next.
I'm very interested in what you do next.
I think I gave you answers in the beginning of your interview.
No. So the answer is, are you considering the chairmanship of your party?
Yes, I am considering. And I am part of the drawing of that plan. It's a project that I'm planning. I've been around for long. I've known what to do. I've known how to mobilize, how to organize. I know there's a disconnect between some of the work we do and the party full soldier. I can tell you today, there's a disconnect. And I meet people on the ground. I'm a grassroots person. I worked as a local government minister. I prefer to be in a rural community than here in Accra. I worked as information minister. So I know the feeling. I can feel the pulse of the party. Needs a true UP person who understands the party and who has been a party organizer. I was organizer from the beginning of the party. We used to form the United Progress Party International. When the revolution was here, I was in London, formed that.
So I will take this out.
So I understand the wing of the party in Parliament as an MP. I understand the wing of the party as an executive. I understand the wing of the party as a minister. And I've now held the heart of handling the corporate business side of government. And I've turned them around, some of the entities. And even here, if you had come here before now, you would have thought this as a prison yard. You would have run away. It's changed. This place has changed.
Interesting. So, more like it would happen. Stephen Asamoah Boateng, thank you very, very much for joining us tonight on Upfront on the Joy News channel. My name is Winston Amwa. Up next is Joy News Prime. Keep watching the Joy News channel. Have a good evening.